How we doing? How you doing? I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. What's up, boys? It's your boy, Duke. Welcome back to the Talking Soccer Podcast here under the Guru Elite Podcast Network. This is episode 28. I'm your host, Duke, and the EPL is back, baby. It's back! We had the weekend off, right? We'll say off in quotes. Threw up a little European qualifier content on the site over at EliteFantasy.com, where you can find all of my DFS work. Of course, all my betting stuff over at EliteSportsBetting.com. And for those season-long needs, FantasyGuru.com. Do not forget about those guys over there. Now, guess what? Another betting win. Is that all we do around here? I mean, literally, is that all we do around here? I think that makes it 7 wins in 4 podcasts. Only 2 losses, 1 push. You cannot ask for more than that. So today, no bets. You don't get any more. No more free bets. All right, you know what? We'll do it one more podcast. I'll give you 2 free bets at the end of the podcast. As always, if you're sick of hearing me already, skip. Head to the end. 2 free bets at the end. For all of my bets, EliteSportsBetting.com. 3 straight winning months. Off to a great start here in September. And that's where we are. We're going to talk about some EPL. But before we do that, we got to talk a little international break. Of course, Ronaldo, the GOAT. Is he the GOAT? That's a whole other podcast, Messi versus Ronaldo. 4 goals for Cristiano in Portugal. Hell of a game. Like I said, we did put out some content on the European qualifiers. I saw a lot of green from our subs. Congratulations to you guys on the big wins. I won, I think, 2 of 3 slates that I played, and it came out just slightly ahead. Nothing to write home about at all. But maintained. It kept me entertained until we got to the NFL Sunday and getting us back to EPL, right? We're finally back. Week 5 coming up. Talk a lot of EPL, but we got to talk U.S. men's national team. And we got to talk about it for a couple of different reasons. Number one, trending on Twitter. Obviously, we got a decent little result against Uruguay with the 1-1 draw, but we got to talk about the loss to Mexico. Not great. Not great. Especially considering the optics. We got a ton of things going on geopolitically, even just internally within the U.S. Soccer Federation. We have an interim coach, Dave Sarakin, who takes over for the shamed Bruce Arena. We're having this big, extensive search, right? But we find out, 6, 7, 8, 10 months in, we haven't even interviewed anybody. What is this extensive search leading to? Come to find out, the end result is who we thought it was going to be all along, Greg Berhalter, former coach of the Columbus Crew, great tactician, supposedly a really good coach, clearly was a great player for the U.S. men's national team. We're heading in the right direction, right? So what is the role of the U.S. men's national team? Is it development or is it winning? And before we even talk about that, why do we have international breaks? Can someone explain this to me? Why? The only answer I've heard is that, we've always had international breaks. Well, why have we always had international breaks? Because of FIFA? FIFA? The racist, corrupt, ridiculous organization that's given Qatar, a slave state essentially, a World Cup. It was bought with backdoor handshakes and private jets and hilarious videos that come out of I think it was a Jamaican guy who's trying to claim he did not get money, even though he's got a bag of cash in the background. FIFA, that's the reason why we have international breaks? It's absolutely ridiculous to think about. If we think about this in terms of any other sport, can you imagine we're 4 weeks into the season and Tom Brady packs up his stuff in New England, jets off to Bolivia. Team USA is playing Bolivia in a men's national football team game. Meanwhile, the Patriots are going, we're paying this guy $25 million. Let's pray the guy doesn't get hurt. How about LeBron James? Which is a whole other issue. The U.S. men's national team losing to France today. It is Wednesday evening. Whole other issue. LeBron James leaving in the middle of the Lakers season to go play with Team USA and go take on France in some FIBA international friendly game. Tears an ACL. Right? And those are worst case scenarios. Getting hurt. Not being able to play for your club team. The team that's paying your salary. Why are we doing this? And when we talk about development versus winning, we think about all these little breaks that the men's national teams have, and women's. Let's not forget about the women, but all these breaks where we're in the middle of our freaking seasons, we say, shut it all down. Some of you, the majority of you, right, go home, rest, right? We'll do some light training at the club. But the really, really good players, you guys, go back to your national teams, train for a week, week and a half, play 2 games, then come on back to your club team. What development can happen in a week and a half? What are we doing? The role of the men's national team is not to develop players. The full men's national team is not to develop players. Sure, we can talk about implementing tactical style, what we're expecting of these players in these short camps, so that when we get together for bigger camps, like a January camp for our MLS players who are off then, who are typically the ones brought into that national team camp, or our summer camp for our bigger competitions like World Cup qualifying, Gold Cup, World Cup, right? Those longer camps, we can talk about maybe development there, but this is about small incremental changes to tactical adjustments that are planning for the future. And that is what we have to do with our men's national team. Let's think about how this all started, right? This started with Bob Bradley. And for those who don't remember, wildly successful men's national team coach on the international level, great results in World Cups, played some of the most disgusting, worst soccer these eyes have ever seen. But that got us results at times. Where we lacked perhaps in tactical ability or technical ability or tactical know-how, we made up for with the American grit, right? The heart, the desire to work for the player next to you, the organization, the athleticism. We took what we had and we molded it into what could get us the best results, which is the ultimate goal on the national team level, the full national team level. So we have Bob Bradley, disgusting soccer. What does that lead us to? Well, Jurgen Klinsmann and his adoption of the beautiful game. However, we only got Jurgen Klinsmann. We didn't get Jogi Löw, the German men's national team coach, who was his assistant when Klinsmann was the head coach, the manager of the German national team. Jogi Löw was the tactical brain. Klinsmann was the face and the motivational mouthpiece for that team on game day. But I was this once. I was Jogi Löw. I had a very successful U18 development academy team who I was not the main coach. I was the tactical master, if you will, right? Head coach, super great at recruiting, good motivational speaker, especially on game day, prepping the kids to get them ready. He'd give them the big speech. He'd turn it over to Duke and say, Duke, let's go, get them out. I'd say exactly how we're going to line up, how we want to play, things we worked on in training, what the other team is going to do, things we can expect. Here's what we do on set pieces, and then one last piece from the other coach, and then out they go. That's a good team, right? That's a good coaching unit. But if you lose one of those pieces, the whole thing can blow up in your face. And that's exactly what happened with Jurgen Klinsmann. He wanted to play the beautiful game, beautiful soccer, build out of the back. Not only did we not necessarily have the players to do it, but we didn't have the masterpiece who could put those players in good positions and teach them what to do in certain situations to be able to be successful with that style of play. So what happens? I mean, we did okay, right? We did okay, but we didn't reach the levels we were supposed to do. So what do we need? We're a couple games into the World Cup qualification system. Jurgen Klinsmann, coming off the back of an okay World Cup, starts us off slow. Admittedly, starts us off slow. So we bring in the winner, the known piece, Bruce Arena, right? Let's go get those results. Screw all this beautiful soccer. You can continue it if you want. But what we want is wins. We got to, at minimum, qualify for the World Cup. There's no chance Bruce Arena doesn't get us there. And what does that arrogant son of a bitch do? We miss a World Cup cycle. And the players have to take responsibility too. But you can't bring in a winner and not win. When that happens, it's time to blow the whole thing up. And that's exactly what we've done. We have our eye on the future. Greg Berhalter, I think, is the right guy for the job to get us to where we want to go. But we've got to stop with this obsession with gorgeous soccer. And let's be clear, that's not what Berhalter is trying to do. Greg Berhalter's main tactical notion is when we have the ball, especially in good areas, we can't get scored on. It's defense by offense, right? It's controlling the game, controlling the tempo. But you can't say we're not developing talent. Let me read you a couple names, right? Christian Pulisic, Chelsea. Tyler Adams, RB Leipzig. Weston McKennie, Schalke. Zach Steffen, Man City. John Brooks, Wolfsburg. Josh Sargent, Werder Bremen, Tim Weah. Lille via PSG. Giovanni Reina, Borussia Dortmund. Chris Richards, Bayern Munich. Sergio Dest, Ajax. We are developing top-level talent. And that's all throughout the field. We have attacking talent. We have defending talent. We have a goalkeeper. The U.S. is using our lower levels and our lower men's national teams to develop the talent. That is the goal of youth soccer, of youth national teams. To then give the full men's national team the pieces to put out a winning product. So development versus winning, what goes where? Anything under 16 should be strictly development, right? We want to win games. We want to develop a winning mentality, especially here in the States. That's all that matters, right? We got to be winners. But the full men's national team is not for developing talent, for taking what we have, those pieces, and putting out a winning product. If Greg Berhalter does not start winning games, he won't be the manager. He won't be the manager. And our performance against Mexico was not up to standards. Whether we're developing for the long term or not, we got to be better than that versus Mexico. And we turned it around a touch versus Uruguay. And look, here's the reality. Qualification for the World Cup is the minimum for the U.S. There isn't a single developed country, advanced country, we'll say, with an easier path to qualification than the U.S. Sucks to say, but it's true. We have the most people. We have the most money. We have how many teams do we play? We're going, well, I mean, their whole country has less people than a county in Texas. We're supposed to qualify for the World Cup. Bruce Arena set this program back 10 years. I hate him for it. He's doing really well in the MLS. Congratulations. You stay up there in the Northeast with New England and win some games. Super cute. You screwed us, bud. We're taking a more long-term approach with the national team. I hope we make incremental growth adjustments with all these little camps, regardless of results. But as soon, and I mean as soon as World Cup qualification starts, it's all about results. I don't care if we play like Bob Bradley. I don't care if we play like Pep Guardiola. As long as we get the 3 points every single game. That's not the ceiling. That's the minimum expectation we should have for the full men's national team. Now, look, I'm not totally losing my shit like a lot of people on Twitter were doing, thinking it's over. The U.S. is never going to win a World Cup. They may not. But who realistically has a chance to win the World Cup at the start of each cycle? It's like 5 teams. And we're not one of those 5 teams. But we got to keep making these incremental growth sessions to be closer and closer to those top 5 teams. And we aren't yet. Mexico, I think, made a great hire with Tata Martino. He was obviously the coach of Atlanta United, who I'm a huge fan of, a founding member of. I love Tata. I think it's insane and embarrassing that we didn't interview him because he doesn't speak English well enough. He speaks a little bit of English, just doesn't speak it well enough. And kind of speaks to the backdoor nature of this coaching search. But hey, it is what it is. We have Berhalter now. That's our boy. We're going to back him. We got to stick with him. And we have the horses, guys. When we're healthy, we have the players to get it done. And I don't want to see Josie Altidore up top. I'm sorry, I just don't. He's 28? He'll be 32, 30 by the time the next World Cup kicks off. Fine. Put him on the bench. Let's get Josh Sargent some games. Right? Let's get Christian Pulisic in the number 9, the number 10 role. Let's push Tyler Adams further up the field, not at right back. Let's get Tim Weah some games with the full national team with quality around him, not a bunch of youngsters trying to make their way through. Let's get Paxton Pomykal some good minutes, right? It's good to see him play the other day. We have so many good young players where we can develop, and we do develop good quality youth players. We just got to transition that to to the full men's national team, and then start winning games and start putting our imprint on the international system. And we can do it. We got the horses. But enough about that. Enough about that. I'm calm. You guys stay calm. No, you're freaking out. I'm not freaking out. How about some EPL? You want to talk a little EPL? How about a quick comment on the table, right? 4 games in. As we talked about last podcast, Liverpool, Man City, still looking at the top. As we predicted, as we expected. Crystal Palace, overachieving. Wolves, underachieving. United, Tottenham, big weekends on tap for them. No top 3, bottom 3 this week. No EPL games last week. You guys know where I stand. Nothing's changed. No major injuries, thank God. Crossing myself here for the international break. But let's talk shopping betting numbers, right? One of the key things you have to do, especially if you want to do this long-term, full-time, just to be profitable, is you have to bet good numbers. Now, what does that mean? What's a good number? Well, when a line is made, on either side there are bets that are put down of varying degrees of dollars, right? Values. $5 bets, $500,000 bets. Based on how all that works out, the line moves up or down. Sometimes we can jump on a number nice and early, right? And so every Sunday night, every Monday morning, I'm looking at those future EPL lines and I'm saying, do I see any value? Where are we at now? And I write all these down because I want to know which lines move where by the time we come around to Saturday morning. Gives you a good indication of where the money is coming in, what the public thinks, what the sharp money thinks, and where the line has settled come kickoff on Saturday morning. Helps with DFS, helps with bets. If I see extreme value right away, I'll put a bet down Sunday night, Monday morning. If I see value, I see value. I'm going to bet it. I make my own line for the game. I see what the line is in Vegas. If there's a variance in my favor, I put a bet down. Now, a hilarious one worked in the opposite way this Monday. And I put a tweet out yesterday just to kind of see what their response would be. But Sheffield United on Bovada was minus 310 as a home team to win against Southampton. Like Sheffield, yeah, like that Sheffield United, the one that just got promoted, sure. And at plus 310, I'm kind of scratching my head like, okay, well, I mean, I guess I could see it. They've been playing well, defend well, compact. It's at home. 310, God, I don't think I could ever bet that. So I open a new tab. I click up another book. Oh, okay, that makes more sense. Plus 120, okay. Let me open another one. Oh, plus 130. Whoa. That's an enormous difference from minus 310. And guess what? It's plus 150 now. Now look, I have lines at multiple books, and for this exact reason. I don't necessarily bet every single game, but I have to know where a decent number is. And at minus 310, let's say we just did. Let's say we're dumb, right? We're just total dummies. Think, minus 310, shit, I love Sheffield this weekend. Southampton sucks. I'm taking it. Minus 310. What do you do, put down 3 units to win 1? You're giving away so much value, so many points. How are you going to win long-term betting like that? You're not. So you have to shop around, find good numbers. And here's the hilarious part. So minus 310, so what should Southampton be like? Plus 275? Plus 250? Nope, plus 190. They got that side of the bet right. Of course they did. Of course they did. Now, I could make the case of, all right, well, if it was like plus 300, maybe you do take a stab on Southampton. Even if you don't think they're going to win, because that's decent value based on the number. Now, here's the caveat. Let's say you accidentally click on minus 310. You're thinking, Jesus, this line is insane. What do I even need to bet to win 1 unit? You click on the little Sheffield United, and you go over to your little box, and you click in, $1 to win or $1,000 to win, whatever your unit size is. And it populates what you're going to bet. And you accidentally click submit. You're like, oh, Jesus, I spent $3,000 on Sheffield United to win at minus 310. Immediately call up your book, Bovada. Hey, guys, my bad. I just hit click. I just hit the click button to submit on a $3,000 bet on Sheffield United at minus 310. I mean, I'm not that dumb, right? I'm not a total donation. That was a mistake. I just like my money back. Thanks so much. What are they going to tell you? Sorry, sir, but you click submit. You'll see in our terms and conditions that once bets are made, all bets are final. you're totally screwed. Now let's take the other side of the coin. If they screw up and you bet that line, you get to keep that money, right? Right? Now, here's a quick story. I'll give you a quick bad line story, all right? At one point in my life, I was living in La Crosse, Wisconsin. And then for those who don't know, I am recording this on video, but if you hold your hand up, your thumb is kind of the Lake Michigan portion of Wisconsin. On the other side, on the left bottom side of your palm, that's La Crosse, Wisconsin. Right on the Mississippi River. Across the river is Minnesota. Gorgeous for a couple months a year. Not much to do in late fall and early winter. A little cold there. So what do? Well, I got in a little nasty habit of just playing poker and betting the shit out of anything I possibly could. And was profitable, right? It got to the point where my local Jimmy John's down the road guy knew me. I'd order a sub every Saturday afternoon. He'd pop up. What's up, Duke? How we doing today? And he knew based on how I was doing, the size of his tip would vary from very nice to I'll get you next time. And I happened to be betting every single play, every single play of an Alabama-Arkansas game. And here's why. Arkansas, if you can probably look this game up, it was probably like 8 years ago, 7, 8 years ago. Arkansas was getting smashed, right? I think Bama rushed for 640 yards or something that game. And they were running every single play to the point where I was totally fine eating like minus 250, minus 300, minus 350 juice on Alabama to run, right? That's how much I'm betting. I'm paying that juice, and I'm betting down and distance, formations, this flow of the game, time left. It was so obvious, right? It got to the point where it was minus 500, minus 550, minus 600. And I'm going, all right, this is a little insane. I can't be profitable long term by betting this. What if they throw a play action? What if they just, Arkansas was crowding the line. One play action, they're walking into the end zone. So I stopped betting. But I'm still watching the line, All of a sudden, it flips. So Bama to pass is minus 500. Bama to run is plus 500. So I think at the time my max bet was 500. I'm launching $500 bets, as many as I could, many as I can. Well, I got 2 down. I tried for a third before the play actually kicked off. So I got $1,000 in. They run it right up the middle. I think it was like a 2-3 yard gain, something like that. I'm going, cha-ching! Plus 500. Give me that cash. That's $5,000. Let's go, baby. But that had to be a bad line. There's no way they're going to let that happen. Sure enough, bang, pops into my account, right? My balance updates. It's labeled as a win, both bets. I think it was 5,000 and 5,000. No, excuse me, 2,500 and 2,500. So I got 5,000 extra dollars in my account. I figure enough is enough. I got to get ready to go out. It's almost bar time. I just made a decent amount of money for the day. Let's go ahead and call it. So, sure enough, head out, meet up with the boys and the girls, tell them this hilarious story, buying the bar shots, right? Shots, drinks, whatever you want. It's on your boy Duke. I'm the new guy in town. Yeah, hey, I'm from the big city, Atlanta, right? I didn't ride a cow here. About an hour later, I checked my account, thinking, you know what? Let's get some NFL action down. It's coming up tomorrow. All of a sudden, my account's dwindled down. $5,000 gone. And this was my first time experiencing a bad line. So I didn't know what was going on. I'm thinking, Jesus, how drunk am I? Did I already bet NFL tomorrow? Like, what is going on? So I look back through. All of a sudden, my graded bets are voided. 2 wins, voided. I'm going, well, how could that be? So I leave the bar, right? I mean, yeah, I bought all these people drinks. It was probably like $50. It's Wisconsin. Who cares, right? Thinking I won all this money, go home. I talked to this poor customer service guy in India for literally an hour, right? A little bit hammered, not going to lie, a little bit hammered. And I'm saying, why is this the case? Sir, you can very clearly see that in our terms and conditions, if there's a clear and obvious error with a line, the bet is voided, we give you your bet back, and you no longer win or lose that bet. I'm arguing, because I've never read the damn terms and conditions. You kidding me? I make the same argument. Hey, man. Hey, bud. If I make a mistake and I bet a bad line, do I get my bet back? Well, sir, once a bet is made, it's final. And that's the rub. So, amongst the many reasons why shopping for a good line makes long-term profitable sense, being drunk in La Crosse, Wisconsin, and thinking you made $5,000 when in reality it was a very clear and obvious error by the book. One of those lines, one of those reasons. God, That was a fun hour and a half, man. I was a king of lacrosse because that's what $5,000 will do for you there. Hey, great town if you ever want to go visit. Like June, July, anything from like May till end of July. Great town, right on the river. Anyway, let's talk some EPL soccer. It is the main slate on Saturday. 10 a.m. games only. I put it out on Twitter today. Thoughts on the main slate being without the 12:30 game. And for those who don't know, that would be the Norwich-Man City game in which City are minus 650 to win. The total's at 4 with juice on the over. It was going to be goals galore. Fun, fun, fun. But would have made a lot of hard decisions for us as we're building our teams for Saturday's slate. So I put it on Twitter. What are your thoughts on the 12:30 game being axed? Second week in a row that they've done this on DraftKings. Every single response was positive. Try doing anything on Twitter where every single response was positive. I keep telling you guys, they're trying to put out a good product. They aren't always successful, but they are trying. This was a good innovation, and it's worked out the last 2 weeks where it made sense to leave that 12:30 game off. It'll be interesting to see what happens when it's, Burnley Brighton, like we're facing this week at 10 a.m. If that's a 12:30 game, they may leave that off for boredom, for God's sakes. But I don't hate this idea of leaving this 12:30 game off. Certainly makes our life easier this weekend. Let's go through the games. 10 a.m. slate. Like I said, there's 5 games we have to choose from. Brighton plus 115 home favorites to Burnley. Manchester United minus 120 home favorites to Leicester. Sheffield United, which we talked about, not minus 310. They're up to plus 150. Still home favorites over Southampton. Tottenham minus 275 hosting Crystal Palace, who we know are better on the road. And then what I think could be the game of the week, which I know many people will say, Manchester United, Leicester City be the game of the weekend. I'm interested to see what happens in this Wolves-Chelsea game. Wolves slight home dogs to Chelsea plus 155 to win there on the road. Now, hint, hint, we might be attacking this Manchester United-Leicester game from a betting perspective. But why do I say Wolves-Chelsea is interesting? Well, number one, Fat Frank is just going all out, baby. He's doing it, right? He's got the longer contract. They had a transfer ban. Expectations maybe slightly lower. They are in the Champions League, so that'll be interesting to see what he does there. But he's sitting older players like Willian, right, in favor of a Mason Mount or a Christian Pulisic. He's attacking. No Olivier Giroud. Tammy Abraham rewarded him with 2 goals in each of his last 2 games. Then we have a Wolves team. Disappointing, right? Only team, I believe, besides Watford, without a win on the season. Sitting on, 3 points. 3 draws and a loss for Wolves. Super disappointing. So there's so many storylines in that game that are interesting. Obviously, as always, I'll do a full game breakdown on each one of these 5 games on EliteFantasy.com for subscribers only. Huge piece of your decision-making for the weekend. I discuss, tactical breakdowns, who's got good matchups, individual players that we're looking to target from a DFS standpoint, which we'll talk about here briefly. But overall, how I see these games going, game flow, goalkeepers to target, etc., to help you make your own decisions as far as DFS and betting goes. Some things that you can't just look up, right? I'm here to help you with those pieces. Now, speaking of DFS, let's talk about a few key plays, and then we'll talk about some bets. Let's start at the forward position. For me, forward's interesting this weekend. Super interesting. It's either, and we're talking about cash here, Kane and kind of a punt, right? Kane, highest goal scoring odds on the slate. Tottenham's the biggest favorite on the slate. They're at home. Crystal Palace. I get the Kane and cash play, but then typically, because of the midfield options we're looking at, you're going to have to pay down at that second forward spot. But if you're not doing that, I'm targeting 2 players. One's 5.9K, the other 6.6K. You can probably figure out who those are. But one's Dwight McNeil. And he does have a bit of an injury doubt, but from what I've read, he's going to play. And I'm certainly not scared of Brighton by any means. I know Burnley's on the road. But as far as what McNeil gives you as far as open play and set-piece value, especially if there's no JBG on the Burnley side of things. I mean, look, Burnley just whip balls in the box. Just absolutely whip balls in the box from any place, right? We made $1 billion on Eric Peters week 1 as a $2,400 fullback or something like that. Insane, because we knew we could attack down that side, put good balls in. Ashley Barnes absolutely on fire. So we take Ashley Barnes being on fire, Dwight McNeil set piece equity, Only, plus 260 on the road, knowing they're going to get set pieces, put balls in the box. Don't hate Dwight McNeil from a cash perspective. We're going to talk more cash in the article, but one player I want to talk about from a GPP standpoint, Patrick Cutrone. Came over to Wolves from Inter Milan this past transfer season in the summer. Got his first start last game against Everton. For those who didn't watch, all right, he ended up with 0 goals, right? Could have and should have at least 2, if not 3 goals. One, unbelievable save by Pickford off the line. Cutrone couldn't believe it. A second one, good, low-driven shot off a defender's heel. I think it might have been Seamus Coleman. Going in the bottom corner. Could have been a second. Ends up with 0 goals. Womp womp. Right? Shit. But we watched that game. I have watched that game. I saw exactly where he was. He was getting in unbelievable spots. Not super involved in the build-up, but that's not really what they're asking him to do. I like him more than Jimenez, especially for the price on DraftKings this weekend. Super unlucky not to score, but in a way, that's a good thing. Wasn't really on him last week. We can take full advantage this week. Like we talked about, Fat Frank, he's going to attack. And Chelsea are conceding goals left and right. For me, from Wolves, Patrick Cutrone gets a goal. Bank it. Now, at midfield, it's James Maddison than everybody else, right? He's the one player I think should be locked into your lineup. He's a Kevin De Bruyne of this slate. United, for obvious reasons, not super big favorites at home, part of which is that they're hard at the back. Luke Shaw out. Wan-Bissaka couldn't go on international duty with a back injury. Now he should be back. Lindelof, Maguire still figuring things out. United's midfield, not great. James Maddison, he's taken like 30 corner kicks already. I'm not even joking. He is a floor monster. And at under 10K, how do you not play him in this matchup? Love that over. Love that over. There's another sneak peek. Love that over. But I think one player that's going to get overlooked is Christian Eriksen. Here's why. Not a great start to the season. His game logs don't look great. For me, watching that entire Arsenal game, Christian Eriksen took over that game at times. Got his goal, right? Little deflection, scored a goal, whatever. Got in a good spot, buried it. But it wasn't just that. He was asking for the ball. He was demanding the ball. He was getting in good spaces, creating good opportunities. He's taking set pieces now. He's taking on that responsibility. And more than anything else, the transfer window is over. He is a Spurs player for at least the next 3 months, if not the rest of the year or even further past that. Christian Eriksen now knows this is where he's going to be. And I think mentally, that is a huge gap that's closed for him and his production. He's a Spurs player now. Look, price is up there, but he's a baller. And let's not forget, who of every team in the EPL has committed the most fouls? Crystal Palace. Who do they play? At home. Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace, 60 fouls conceded through 4 games. Spurs are going to get set-piece opportunities. Lamela has been taking a few, but Eriksen's certainly been taking quite a handful himself. Not to mention his open play. He shoots on sight like Christian Eriksen this weekend. Now, you might be saying, hey, that's 2 super high-priced midfielders. No, duh, Duke. Well, hey, sometimes getting it right, even for the expensive players, is the hard part. And hint, hint, there's a couple that I like value-wise and in the middle from a midfield perspective, both in cash and GPP. Obviously, more in the article on EliteFantasy.com. Now, defender this week, bit of a crapshoot. There's a couple that I'm targeting. I don't want to mention them on the pod because honestly, I think it's that important for our builds, both in cash and GPP this weekend. I'll save that for our subscribers over at EliteFantasy.com. As always, goalkeeper, totally on EliteFantasy.com. One of the, I think, extreme edges that we have over the rest of the field. Now, to the bets. For those of you that have been waiting, 7-2-1, 7-2-1, 7-2-1 through 4 pods on the free podcast here. And we have 2 bets for you today. I mentioned I love that United Leicester over 2.5. Look, I don't mind eating the minus 120 juice. Let's just do it and move on. Frankly, this could be over 2.5 at halftime. Both teams liable at the back. Jamie Vardy absolutely on fire. 3 goals in 2 games. Marcus Rashford not in good form. That hurts me a little bit, but I have it on good word that Anthony Martial is going to start. Dan James can't stop scoring. We're due for a Harry Maguire set-piece goal. I love the over in that game. I think Brandon Rodgers is not going to sit back. Even on the road, Old Trafford, he's not afraid of this team. He has confidence in his squad. Your Tielemans in great form. Harvey Barnes came on, scored a banger. There's so much talent on this gigantic field, one of the biggest fields in the Premier League at Old Trafford. Nothing but fireworks on Saturday. Now, here's our donkey bet, which it almost seems too obvious, right? Liverpool to win, City to win, Tottenham to win. Parlay those three, put 2 units down, win 1.61 units. It's going to be in the bet pack on EliteSportsBetting.com. I'm going to give you that one here for free as well on the Talking Soccer Podcast. That's going to do it for this week's Talking Soccer Podcast. Men's national team talk, EPL talk, bets. It's all here each and every week on the Talking Soccer Podcast. Good luck, boys, this weekend. Show me those green waves come Saturday on the DFS. Adios.